I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, June the 10th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services. That's Dakota Moss there in Oklahoma City at the Exchange Building. They are your LRP specialist. He and all these agents that work right along with him. They're also heavily trained in PRF insurance policies. So I know everything looks really good now for the most part. If you're in the central part of the U.S., but it could turn off dry in just a minute. And remember, on those LRPs, I mean, those protection levels are sky high, and you could rest all summer and not worry a bit about it. But for more information, go to livestockriskservices.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, gonna have a big sale, not quite as big as they've been having, because they got a pretty good rain around there, and several of the large consignments got rained out, so they're going to have about 3,500. We're going to have 500 calves, most of them weighing 300 to 500 pounds, and only about half of those weaned. They'll have 800 yearling heifers. They got two deals with a high percentage of those heifers being of replacement quality. They'll have they're also, this is kind of a separate deal. They've got 111 head of 2-year-old Griswold genetics heifers. Now, most of them have sloughed a calf or something like that. So if you wanted to buy them to rebreed, that'd be fine. You can buy them, put them on feed. That's a specific deal for a specific buyer. But you're looking for 2-year-old high genetic replacement heifers that have had some kind of a problem or whatever. You can turn them back out and rebreed them. These things aren't thin as paper. They're in good shape, but they just lost a calf or something for some reason. But check those out. They'll have 1,400 yearling steers. The Ratcliffs, Gerald's going to have 520 off one deal. They are Hoffman sired bulls, outstanding quality there. They'll weigh about 900 pounds. They've got a lot of 700 to 1,000 pound home raised steers right off the wheat yet. I mean, some of you northern buyers that are looking for loads of single source cattle, get on to DV Auction. Call them a little bit ahead of time. Jerry wants to talk to you. She wants to speak to you before she's going to approve you. That's the way that goes. But call them in there, the office at Beaver County, and get approved on DV Auction to bid on those loads of single source cattle. They'll have 300 cows, mostly just older cows and way up cows, but they've got a few young pairs and a few young bred cows in there you can pick through. So Beaver County Stockyards, Beaver, Oklahoma. It's on DVAuction.com. Late confirmation, and what I'm talking about there is the weekly report that comes out on Monday morning from USDA Market News, the 5-area weighted average and the national weighted average. They were a little bit late. You know, I told you about the private sourced quotes that I heard of late Friday that didn't make the report on Friday. It was really high. They were really high, and higher than everything that they had quoted up through early in the day. But I don't know what took them so long to get that out. But that report was supposed to be out by 11 o'clock, and it didn't go out till about 1 o'clock. That means the board did not realize those record high prices. And it's kind of significant, guys. Your weighted average for the week went up another $2.40. So it was up $6.68. It was only up $4.20 something on the previous report, which is the one that I gave you on our last visit. So it could be surprise to some of those Chicago guys that really inspect the data and want to see it in black and white. But it is a big time market mover there, guys. We keep seeing prices on everything, all-time record highs. But how about our cow meat? 90% lean trimmings are stretching the all-time highs. I mean, just really have launched in the last few weeks. I saw where a bull at the slaughter bull at the new Gainesville livestock auction in Gainesville, Texas, weighed 2380 and bring 242. Now figure that up. But just unbelievable prices everywhere on every single class of cattle. You guys have been watching on TV like I have the big protests that are going on out there in California, and those protesters are flying Mexican flags protesting stuff in America. It doesn't seem straight to me. I think what they need to do is, as Trump's put the National Guard in there, they need to build a big wing and come in to kind of narrow a shoot down and come in there with some 30-foot goosenecks or maybe some ground load straights and back up and just pack them in there. Get in behind them with hot shots and just pack all of them in there, all those protesters that are flying the Mexican flag, and then just truck them down to the Mexican border and back up to one of those gates on that big wall and unload them, see how they like that. Let's talk about your board. On June, live cattle futures up 70 cents at 227. August up 37 cents at 219 and a quarter. Your back months were unchanged to up 52. August feeder cattle to start the week up $1.50. That used to be a move. That was the biggest move they could have. But that's been a long time ago. Up $1.50 didn't seem like nothing. At 311.65, that's sitting square in between your real-time index and your CME cash feeder cattle index. So it's watching that pretty closely. September feeder cattle up 157 at 310.70. Your back months on feeder cattle up 117 to 160. July corn down 9 cents a bushel at 433 and a half. Beans were down 1 1/4 cents a bushel at 10.56. And hard red winter wheat for July, as they're getting started with harvest there, down 11 3/4 cents a bushel at 537 and a half. Let's talk about your Punchy Pick of the Month contest. It's going to be coming up. It comes up quicker than a pickup payment. You guys know that. Get your picks in for either the Kids Corral, sponsored by Great Plains Livestock Consulting, or the Punchy Pick of the Month, sponsored by Beaver County Stockyards and Farapiece, that revolutionary product that's scientifically proven. I'm going to stick a video at the end of this episode of the Feeder Flash about Farapiece. But if you get you something you think is a Punchy pick or a Kids Corral pick, just take a snap of it and email it to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated trade out of your 5-area feeding region totaled 63,100 head. It could have been bigger, but I don't know that there was any more cattle that was ready. Everybody I talked to, they swung the gates late in that trade as those packers just kept getting more aggressive. But that compares to 64,900, another big movement for as light as the supplies are, and bigger than the same week a year ago at 52,400. Your weighted average on prices last week of fat steers and heifers in the 5-area negotiated trade ranging from 220 all the way up to 244. That's $5 to $7 higher. Your weighted average on live steers was 236.62. That was up $6.68 to a fresh record there. Unbelievable high. Your dress trade ranged from $375 to $386. That was $10 to $13 higher. Your weighted average on dressed steers 380.34, up 12.28. My goodness. As a whole, your Southern Plains market was $5 to $13 higher, from $225 to $235, with some late sales in Kansas at $240. Northern Plains $3 to $10 higher live, $238 to $244, and $9 to $15 higher dressed at mostly $380. Nationwide, we sold 78,800 head. That's a big movement for the way things are nowadays, guys. Of course, we had a higher market, so we had bigger trade compared to last week, where we had a big movement with higher prices at 81,500 head, and the same week a year ago, 64,100 head. Of that 78,800 head, 13,500 of them, or 17%, were for the 2 to 4 week delivery. Negotiated grid sales totaled 38,600 head. Forward contracting totaled 32,100 head. And formula sales totaled 255,600 head. A lot bigger than last week. And it was a pretty big movement altogether. But the packers have pretty much cleaned the slate. Tell you what, I don't know anybody that's got cattle with a heavily done, like they like them now, that they didn't sell last week. And of the 4 out of 5 areas that we get information, Iowa sold 21,800 negotiated last week. Nebraska only sold 17,600 negotiated. Kansas sold 15,600 head. That's a big movement for them. And Texas sold 8,200. Box beef cutout values, big gains on Monday. Choice cuts 367 1/4, up 217. Selects 358.93, up $2.20. Your slaughter to start out the week, 115,000, exactly the same as last week, and 7,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Limousine and Limflex are focusing on feed efficiency, improved marbling, superior yield grade, and calving ease. It might be a direction you want to take your genetics in this atmosphere of larger frames and heavier weights. Let Limousine and Limflex take you full circle at NALF.org. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index at the end of Monday's sales, after they had all closed, and much higher on all of them. Your real-time index at 312.74. That was up $4.47 from late last week, and is based on 809 pound steer instead of 800 smooth. Or it'd be even higher than that. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index at 310.46. Your big sales on Monday, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards had 4,300. Like I said, it was very wet around, hard for people to get cattle out. Feeders were $5 to $10 higher. Calves were steady in a light test, and they would have had a much bigger run if it hadn't been so wet. Joplin Regional Stockyards, another big sale for them, but you notice the big sales aren't as big as they were several weeks ago. 7,200 what they had in Joplin. We've just about shook the bushes out of them. There's a few weak cattle out there left for guys that had beardless or triticale or something like that, but many places were just about out of cattle to sell. But at Joplin they had steers $5 to $25 higher, and heifers $5 to $15 higher. That's what the market reporter called them. But you're going to say, oh my God, 5 to 25 higher, heifers 5 to 15 higher. I'm not going to argue with him, because if you look at this automated market report, you're going to see that they are exactly that trend. And Joplin was your superior steel sales, superior standard livestock handling equipment stick out sale of the day. Look at these weighted averages on this big run. It was impressive throughout. Look at your best tested weights. 467 head of 4-weight steers, average 461 at 414.11. Look at the changes. I left them on there. If you notice the changes on the right, it's unbelievable how much higher, and they had a hell of a sale last week. 932 head of 5-weight steers, average 553 at 388.60. There were 622 head of 6-weight steers, average 645 at 352.06. 658 head of 7-weight steers, average 738 at 332.23. And 981 head of 8-weight steers, averaged 845 with a weighted average price of 304.36. Now look at the heifers, maybe more impressive. 432 head of 4-weight heifers, average 459 at 385.40, guys. That's on all of them. Some of them might not have been that attractive. 816 head of 5-weight heifers, average 548 at 346.82. There were 619 head of 6-weight heifers, average 659 at 319.89. 580 head of 7-weight heifers, average 766 at 297.85. And 390 head of 8-weight heifers at Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri. They averaged 832 with a weighted average price of 283.06. The best sale that I saw, the stick-out sale at Joplin, was 80 head of 506-pound steer calves. They bring 467.50. Wow. How about some other quotes from around? How about the little market with the big prices? Toby Myers at Sylvan Sales Commission, Sylvan Grove, Kansas. He sells 60 head, not just 8-weight steers. It's not a big deal for 8-weight steers to bring over $3, but these steers weighed 897 at 320.50. Wow, big price there. How about Russell Livestock Market? They had the most impressive quotes that I saw all day. They are your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day. They had 2 loads of these actually. One load weighed 840 at 332.25, and the other load weighed 843 at 332.35. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.